Hi, my name is Kevin Miller. I'm currently president of the Georgia Veterans Day Association and the Georgia chapter of the Korea Defense Veterans Association. That day started out as a wonderful day for a paratrooper. You don't often get a daylight jump in the 82nd, especially as an infantryman. So for us to have the opportunity to know we had a daylight jump, not quite Hollywood, we were going to be out in the field for about 2 to 3 days. So not a long period of time we were getting prepared for the war, to be out in the field. Approximately 2:15, 2:10 in the afternoon, an F-16 and a C-130 contacted each other at the far end of the runway. The C-130 was able to circle around and land, but the F-16, both pilots had to eject. At that point, the F-16 flew and struck about 200 meters in front of a parked C-141, which is going to be one of our aircraft that day. I was part of the first mock door. Our group had just finished doing the PLF training that we all know in the airborne community, and you do each time you go out to the airborne operations. We just finished PLF and we'd come over and we were at the first mock door doing I believe the static line injury portion of that briefing when the impact happened at the 141. All of us turned around to try to see what was going on, and we saw the 141 explode. It was then that we noticed that it was coming at us. We all tried to run, some did, some were unsuccessful. I was knocked about 25 meters away by part of the aircraft that pushed me out of some of the fireball. I was injured that day. I received burns to my hands, my ears, I had back injuries, head injuries, foot injuries. I was lucky. I was able to crawl out towards where the connexes were, and that moment, you would honestly think that's probably the worst day in my military career, and it was. But it was also my proudest day, because as I lay there waiting to be treated, I saw our officers, our NCOs, soldiers, paratroopers who had no training other than to put a bandage on somebody and put pressure if they're still bleeding. The only reason that we only lost 24 paratroopers that day was from the skill and the love of our fellow paratroopers. Paratroopers take care of each other. They did it there. They were bandaging, they were triaging. Soldiers were running back into the fire, trying to put the fire out to save ourselves. And they also carried them for the triage out to Womack Army Medical Center. That is what became the proudest moment to be a soldier. You got to see that, and you got to see what the Army's all about, is where we take care of each other. This was a phenomenal day. It was something that nobody could have ever planned for in the entire time. That you could train for war, you could train for all kinds of scenarios, but not one where you have this type of a mass cow situation. And that is why the Army training is so important. When you look back on something like this 30 years later, there's the loss that we all experienced that day. 24 dead, 60 of us were injured, and I spent about 30 days in the hospital. But the love of that moment from what our fellow paratroopers did for one another is what carries you through these last 30 years. So that's why it became one of the proudest moments to be a paratrooper.